Hello. What up? So we are live, and that was the first time I heard that kind of countdown. It's like it was a new one. So StreamYard is doing some new stuff. We got all kinds of new goodies and stuff in here. But we're back for episode 2 of the astrology series here, and I'm here with my co-host Nick Johnson. What up, dog?
What's up, Chris?
Just chilling, man. Another day, man. We were both saying how time went by so fast. We were supposed to do one last week, remember? Because we're doing it every Tuesday. And we both missed that one. And then we were supposed to do Tuesday again, but then you were busy. And and I was like, that was fine, actually, because I think I had like hardly any sleep that day. So actually worked out. So
that's cool how stuff works out like that.
And we were talking about how, like, dude, you're like, oh, I can't believe it's already February. I mean, it's pretty much already March now, dude. And, they say that the older you get, the faster time goes by. Do you know why that is?
I've got a theory on it. I'm kind of curious to hear yours first.
You want to hear mine first? Okay.
Yeah.
So my theory is that it's relative, right? So if I'm 5 years old and 1 year, remember when you're a kid, 1 year was so long. Right. So like 1 year when you're 5 in kindergarten, that's a fifth of your whole life. You know what I mean? But when you're 40, I mean, 1 year is not really that much. So literally every year that you've been on the planet longer, time goes by faster and faster.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. See, great minds think alike, man. It's like we're right there, dude. So
that's cool. And it makes perfect sense too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way it was explained to me. Somebody explained it to me, I remember, years ago. And I was like, oh man, that totally makes sense. Yeah, duh. No wonder. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I just remember like a whole year. I remember that was so long. I mean, a year when I was a kid was like, I don't know, like 3 years or something, 3 or 4 years. It was so long. Now, dude, it's like literally just you blink and it's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Even like a day, like when I was in elementary school, a day just took forever. Yeah. You go to school at 9 and you're like just watching that clock move so slow. And you're like, dude.
Yeah. Especially,
now there's not even enough time in the day to get everything done.
Oh, dude, no. I don't understand how people do it, man. Like, being single, like just living here by myself, it's hard to get stuff done. Like, I'm like, oh man, if me and Sweet Tea, like, and here's the thing, like with 2 people working, it's difficult because I don't have time. I mean, I do it, but it's like, I got to make time to clean the house and like do all this stuff. I got to give the dogs a bath. I got to take them to their grooming. I got all this different stuff to do. And like, I could make a full-time job out of just running errands and stuff. You know what I mean? So that's why I think it's so much better when you have a two, man and a woman, but if the woman just takes care of the house and all that stuff and the man can just work. I mean, the economy is so bad, it's hard to do now, but I mean, that's a full-time job, just taking care of the house and cooking and all that stuff, man. So
now we have to have both people working 2 jobs full-time, and you're barely getting by.
Yep. That's true.
Like this month, I have to basically budget and figure out, do I want to pay my rent late or do I want to get overdraft fees on several bills?
Yeah, that's what my uncle used to do, man, back in the day when checks and stuff. He's like, the check's going to bounce. It's the same fee if it bounces, for $5 or $200. So he's like, I'm just going to when I bounce it, I'm going to get the biggest amount of stuff. I remember used to go grocery shopping. Like, I'm just going to get as much food as I can. It's going to bounce anyways. So,
exactly.
But, so we're kind of just winging this, like we said. So, do you have anything you want to lead with on the part 2 of this astrology series?
Shoot, I feel like part 1 was kind of all over the place. So we didn't quite get a good foundation in part 1 as I kind of would like to get us on. So maybe let's just get back to a really solid foundation and just cover some of the most basic things. I mean, they're kind of boring, but if you don't know anything about astrology, you'll be able to see how important some of these basic things are because you always will use them as you use astrology.
Okay, go for it.
So the big one for me, so when I was first studying astrology, I didn't understand how fast those planets were moving. I didn't okay, we understand Mercury's sitting there flying around the sun once every 88 days. Most people know that info. We know Earth takes 365 days to move around the sun. Venus is a little faster. It takes Venus like 270-ish days, I believe. Mars is obviously a little longer. Mars takes almost 2 years to go around the sun. Jupiter takes 12 years. Saturn takes 29 years. Uranus takes 84 years. Neptune takes 160 years. And Pluto takes 250 years. So we have these different planetary cycles at play, and it's really helpful just to know how fast these planets are actually moving.
Yeah, real quick, dude. I just had an epiphany, bro, and it's like, duh, because, when they say Mercury's in retrograde, that means it's past the 88 days, right? And now it's moving away, or it looks like it's moving away from Earth, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what that is. Because Mercury retrograde is like, so it's every 88 days. Then is that what it is?
Yep.
Gotcha. So,
Yep.
real quick, let's talk. Do you want to talk about? Do you want to keep going with your thing, or do you want to talk about something else? Move on.
Yeah, go ahead and take it whatever
Okay.
way you want. I can always loop back and cover something if we miss it.
Okay. Well, just real quick, because this got me on Mercury now with the 88 days thing. So, you want to explain to people what Mercury retrograde is? I mean, obviously, we know now that it's when it's past that 88-day cycle and it's moving away from Earth. But what is it about Mercury retrograde that everyone's all up in arms and they say their electronics don't work, and ex-girlfriends and boyfriends start reaching out to them, stuff like that? What is up with this Mercury retrograde stuff?
So most people in the collective are aware of Mercury retrograde. That's a word that most people, oh yeah, we'll hear about that. That's when Mercury's retrograde, but most people have no clue what it actually means. And in case you didn't know, all planets do go retrograde at different times. And when a planet is retrograde, that is the point in its cycle when it is closest to Earth. And I didn't know that for a long time, that the retrogrades correlate with when the planet is closest to Earth. So the Mercury retrogrades, obviously about every 3 months, you get a Mercury retrograde. So about 3 to 4 a year, depending on how it plays out. And the retrograde for Mercury lasts roughly 21 days. And yeah, go ahead and ask me something on that if you want.
So it's I thought it was 2 weeks, but there's a 1 week shadow period before and after, right? So it's really like a month, is what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've noticed about Mercury retrograde is I've never had any issues with electronics or anything, but it does seem to be a time when people that you haven't spoke with in a long time, they reach out to you all of a sudden. Why do they do that?
So there's some keywords that I like to associate with Mercury retrograde, especially, and they are the RE words. So people return in your life. You redo projects. You reassess things. It's a time to reflect, and it's not really a time to push forward. So if you're aware of these moments in the planetary cycles, you'll know that you're wasting your energy, perhaps, by trying to push a project forward when you really need to be reassessing things, right, or whatever.
Because they say that, if your ex starts reaching out to you during Mercury retrograde, some people say that it's a bad time to try to rekindle stuff with them.
I would say it may not be. Like, that may be a time to obviously return to your bases and reevaluate things. And
okay. All right. You want to continue on your thing you were talking about?
Yeah. So each planet has a different retrograde cycle, obviously, because of the length of its orbit. And because Mercury sits so close to the sun, it never gets very far away from the sun. If you look up in the sky, and if you could see Mercury in the sky next to the sun, it would never be further than 28 degrees away from the sun, ever. So in an astrology chart, whatever sign the sun is in, you know that Mercury has to be either in the same sign as the sun is in, or possibly the sign before, or possibly the sign after, but never more than one sign away from the sun.
Okay.
So, and Mercury is the only planet that's like that. Well, besides Venus is kind of similar. So Venus, I believe, can push up to 48 degrees away from the sun. So Venus is kind of similar. Venus can actually go up to 2 signs away from the sun. So it can, if like right now the sun is in Pisces, Venus could potentially be in Aries or Taurus or Pisces or Aquarius or Capricorn. So there's kind of a bigger spread where Venus could potentially be in the sky.
What's the meaning of the saying men are from Mars, women are from Venus?
Right. I've always pondered that one myself. Like, I don't know. Like Mars is very masculine. Mars is very assertive and aggressive, and Venus is very beautiful, and it's the feminine planet. We refer to her as Aphrodite, or what was the other name that we give Venus? It's slipping my mind right now, but um, yeah, I love covering the myths, or listening to the myths. I can't really, like, I wouldn't even attempt to try to discuss the myths because I suck at that, but um, I love listening to them because it's important.
If you have like a particular sign in Venus,
Mm-hmm.
um, Venus is kind of like you said, it's a more of a feminine sign. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
more of a love sign, isn't it? Like if you're,
Yeah,
looking at your chart, you could be like, maybe that's the way that you show love or express love or like to receive love.
yeah. Venus is the planet of love as well, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but when Venus and the Moon are conjunct in the sky, it's so pretty because you got the Moon, and then you got the brightest star in the sky, Venus, and it's called Love Day.
Okay,
In the astrology world, Love Day is when Venus and the Moon are conjunct in the sky, and it
interesting.
happens once every month. So,
I got a question for you that so you know how they say, so you have, just use these thumb drives here. So you got Earth here, or let's say the sun, because we all revolve around the sun, right? So my microphone is the sun, right? And this is us, we're Earth. And so we're spinning like this, right? So we're spinning, that's 24 hours every time one spin. But then also it's moving around the sun this way, right? And so as soon
mm-hmm.
as it gets all the way back around, that's 1 year, right? But every time that you look into the sky, I see the Big Dipper, I see all the exact same stars, right? So if it's right here, and then in 4 or 5 months it's over here, how come when I look up at the sky, I'm seeing the exact same stars?
Yeah, you'll see the same constellations. They'll just get shifted a little bit depending on how we're looking at them. But yeah, we're generally seeing the same constellations in the sky. And if we were on the southern hemisphere, we'd see a totally different sky.
Right. We would. Okay. Because, okay, let's say, this is, here's us, Earth, and we're right here. This is the sun. And so, like, this is the sun. So, obviously, when it's nighttime, that means we're facing this way, right? So, I should be looking at all the stars over here. But
Right,
I don't see how it's possible for me to see the stars 180 degrees around until I get over to there. You see what I'm saying?
right. So you will see some slightly different stars in the sky at different times of the year, but generally we're going to get most of the same ones.
Okay. That's a little flat Earth argument
A little bit.
because I'm not a flat earther, but I do have an open mind, and they do make some good arguments. You know what I mean? And that's one that I never really could get a good answer for. And to be honest, I still don't have a good answer for it because I can't comprehend how. Again, I'm not saying that we're flat Earth. I'm just it's interesting, to think about that kind of stuff. So
So real quick on the flat Earth thing, I want to say this. The only thing about it, the flat earthers are right if we're talking about a two-dimensional reality. They are correct, but we don't live in a two-dimensional reality. We live in a three-dimensional reality. So the flat Earth thing, you throw it out the window once you go up a dimension. I
right.
think whatever our view is, I think it's even beyond that because the third dimension is just one of many dimensions. And I think if we go up another level and up another level, we'll totally change our perspective again.
Mhm. Do you think that if you going up into another dimension, it could possibly be look just like the 3D, but say we don't know really what the 4D is, but could it be like, just a different state of consciousness?
Right? Maybe.
I mean, have you heard of Dolores Cannon talking about the new Earth?
Yeah.
It's like, I guess it's supposed to be where a lot of people are going to go to the new Earth if you're, enlightened enough that, and we're supposed to be doing it like right now, is what she was saying. So I was kind of wondering, like, what would that be like? Like, am I in the new Earth or the old one still?
I think it's a state of mind. I think each one of us, depending on our levels of consciousness, we can exist in an old world or we can choose to exist in a new reality that we're creating.
Mhm.
So
I was talking to Sweet Tea, what was it, yesterday? Or it was like the day before yesterday. And I was asking her a question about something that I thought she had told me about. And I was like, this blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh no, it was this, this. And I was like, I could have swore that you told me this. You know what I mean? Because I remember it. And I remember her saying something specific. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She was talking about, I'll just say, she was talking about her daughter meeting her dad, or at least that's what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that, oh no, she never met him. And I was like, I could have swore that you said that she was that she did. Like she went and met him and all this stuff. And she's like, no, no, it never happened. And so I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I can remember it. So it's like, is that like I'm wondering if that's like a dimension slip. You know what I mean? Like, a parallel universe. What do you think about that kind of stuff?
That could be its own podcast on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'll remain silent on it for now because it's I don't want to send us down a rabbit hole, but yeah,
Okay.
that's a good one.
Well, let's put that one on the list then, parallel universes, because I think that'll be good maybe for next episode too. So let's continue because right now we're just trying to cover the basics. So let's not get too off track. So
Right.
Go ahead. You got some more stuff about
that? Back to the planetary shifts and cycles and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, we covered Mercury never moves more than one sign away from the sun, and Venus never moves more than 2 signs away from the sun. So we get to Mars, now we're getting to the planets beyond Earth. And so obviously Mars takes almost 2 years to make one cycle around Earth. Its retrograde cycle is a lot longer though. So Venus's retrograde cycle is longer than Mercury's, and Mars's retrograde cycle is even longer than Venus's. In fact, right now we are, let me double check the astrology for the moment. I should know this, but I don't.
Sweet Tea says, I have proof of my own dimension slip. I have proof of your dementia. I don't know about dimension slip.
She's going to slap you tonight.
Oh, she's not here.
Oh, good.
I'm safe.
You're safe for now.
For now, yeah.
All right. Give me 2 seconds. I've almost got it pulled up.
Yeah, Sweet Tea says the Earth is totally flat. 100, she says.
100.
I don't know. I mean, she's really into this astrology stuff, so I don't know how it could be flat if we're just on a flat Earth. I mean, what's Venus then? Is it flat too?
Right. So we just finished up a Mars retrograde cycle, which began in early January. So this Mars retrograde cycle went for, let me check it. Okay, Google. How long is a Mars retrograde cycle?
On the website PandoraAstrology.com, they say, that means Mars goes retrograde about once every 2 years, and when he does, it usually does for 8 to 11 weeks.
Did you hear that?
There we go. There we go.
8 to 11 weeks.
Yeah, so 72 days.
Wow.
But Mars doesn't have the longest retrograde cycle. Pluto, I believe, has the longest retrograde cycle, but because it's the furthest out. But the thing about, like, let's say when you get out to a Pluto retrograde cycle, it's not going to cover nearly the distance in the chart as, say, a Mars, a Venus, or a Mercury.
Okay.
So the further out, the longer the cycle will last, but the less distance the planet will move, if that makes any sense.
The less distance it'll move. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not going to retrograde back very many degrees in the chart. If it's like Pluto, for instance, Pluto doesn't move more than 1 or 2 degrees in the sky from our perspective.
Is Pluto a planet again?
You know, I think so. I don't understand why that was kind of just shameful for them to demote Pluto to a planetoid.
Is that what it is? What's a planetoid?
Like an asteroid planet? I don't know.
It's like a big asteroid or a small planet.
Right? Have you seen the pictures of Pluto?
No.
Dude, look up some pictures of Pluto. Maybe post one on the screen if you can.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Dude, we are getting some of the clearest images of Pluto we've ever seen. And there's so much color. Like there's this giant mark on the planet that looks like a giant heart. Like just if you've never seen a picture of Pluto, you got to check it out. Can't believe we skipped from Mars to Pluto. We just totally jumped over all the planets.
So let's see. Let's do. I got my new things here. Oh no, that's not gonna work. I got all my different demo. Oh shoot, I just messed it up. There we go. Kind of wanted to make that bigger. Let's try. There we go.
Right.
So we got this is Pluto here, I guess. This one is apparently from NASA. So is Pluto bigger than the moon?
I believe it's a little bigger than our moon. Yeah.
Okay.
Not by much, though.
I don't know if these are actual pictures. That one said NASA, so. Oh, no, that's not going to work.
Boo.
Well, you can kind of see them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, someone could zoom in and see them. Yeah.
Let's see. Let's try. See this one, if it'll work. No, it keeps doing. Oh, yeah, because you go like this. So this is right here. That's the surface of Pluto right there. That's pretty crazy looking, dude. Like it's got all this red. Like these look like these are like mountains or something right here.
Right. But you see that heart-shaped image on there? Like it's pretty, it kind of jumps out.
Over here on the left?
Yeah, I mean, almost all those pictures, you can see there's a heart on the planet. Like it's a giant heart.
Really, a heart?
Yeah.
I can see it like, so it's got a lot of red on it right here.
Well, I wouldn't say it's red. It's mostly the white shape. If you look at the white shape on the bottom right of the planet.
Over here?
Yeah, on the right side of it. Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can see a heart. I know it's extremely cold there. It's like negative 1,000 degrees or something, right?
Yeah, like negative 400 or yeah, it's somewhere. It's cold.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's look at. Let's see if we can find another one more. This one looks cool.
Yeah, that one's cool.
Man, that's crazy.
So yeah, Pluto is definitely a planet. I will argue with anyone. It's probably one of the most important planets we have.
So, all right. So what's next then? It's your show, bro. I'm just here.
Yep. So it's after we're back to the Mars retrogrades and stuff, and the Mars cycle. Let's jump to Jupiter now. So Jupiter takes roughly 12 years to make one cycle around the Earth. So we know if we look at the zodiac, Mars takes 1 year to move through one sign because there's 12 signs in the zodiac. Mars has a nice flow through the zodiac, moving through one sign per year. Even when you take into account the retrograde cycle where the planet moves backwards and then forwards, it still takes the same amount of time. Let's move to Saturn. Saturn is a 29-year cycle. And what can I say about that? It has a retrograde cycle a little bit longer than Jupiter.
It's one of the biggest planets in our solar system, right?
Yep. Saturn and Jupiter, both the big planets.
Saturn and Jupiter. And Jupiter has the ring, right? Or no, Saturn has the ring.
I believe Jupiter has a thin ring too, but I could be wrong. I'm just an amateur. The big thing about Saturn is, a 29-year cycle is basically how long it takes to become an adult. So if you start your life on this planet, you need to get through one Saturn cycle through the entire zodiac chart before you are fully grown. Like that's when you're finally mature. It's 29 years old. So we're expecting people to grow up by 18 or 21 or something. Dude, we're not fully grown until 29. So give us a break. Give
So
people a little bit of break.
so what is that you're saying that when you're 29 is when you're mature enough to be an adult?
I feel like that's the point when you've experienced Saturn through all aspects of the zodiac in your chart. So Saturn has covered all the degree points and all the signs, and you've learned all those lessons for that time period. Now you finally, you know, reached a rite of passage, so to speak.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you think of an 18-year-old as an adult. When I see 18-year-olds, I see those as kids. You know what I mean? It's funny. Like when I was
Yeah.
18, in 18, 19, 20, I didn't think I was a kid. But,
No.
when you look at them now, it's like, yeah, you guys are just still kids. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I would say
And
probably 29, somewhere around there. Yeah.
yep.
Start growing up, I guess, a little bit more.
And a lot of people, you look back to when you were 29, I'm sure you can think of a pretty big event that happened around your 29th year of life. That was, a lot of people go through a very traumatic event at age 29. For me, it was losing my mother. And yeah, just 29 is it's a huge time in your life.
So what do you think, like, do you notice any type of, I mean, you wouldn't remember from a past life, but would you think that after 2 cycles, so when you're 58, there would be some type of noticeable difference?
Most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're starting your second life at 29, so to speak. And then
Right.
when you get to 58, you've started another one, and then you start another one. If you're lucky, you might get 3 Saturn returns.
Right. Okay.
But I plan on being 120, so I'm going to get 4.
Well, they're saying like, um, how fast technology is exploding now. Because I mean, people think that we're so technologically advanced when really we're just in the infancy of actual technology. If you just go back, 30 years, I mean, look at the difference between now and 30 years ago, right? It's crazy because that's really kind of when technology with computers and all this stuff started. And then it's just exploding. I mean, every year it's like it's doubling almost, right? And so they're saying that I've heard that, by the time you get old enough to where everything that would kill you, whether it be cancer, old age, your heart wears out, all that kind of stuff, that they have like a cure for that, right? So you wouldn't die from old age anymore. And then you would live another 50 years. And then by the time you get to, say you're going to be 140, you know what I mean? By the time you would die from whatever that is, they'd have a cure for that. Like they're saying, that it's possible that we could live, for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
I mean, do you think that human beings lived like 500 years and stuff like they did in the Bible?
That's a good question. Maybe. I mean, I feel like the planet was probably a little cleaner. We didn't have the stress. Well, it's hard to say. Maybe that the stress was more back then. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know. I'm mixed on that one. I kind of go back and forth.
the human DNA has been altered. It's been changed. And so there's proof of it. I mean, scientists are saying this is real. They don't know how it mutated and changed, but it has. And Dolores Cannon talks about it too, where that's the reason why we die, because we didn't used to die that quickly. So, but I don't even think she knows the exact reason why it was done, but I think it could be, aliens maybe came in and did it, something like that. I think there's a good chance that we're like a hybrid of some type of alien with like, with an ape or monkey or whatever.
Right. What do you think of the theory about aliens are just clones of us from the future coming back to stop us from cloning ourselves or something like that?
Yeah, like they're us in the future, like, a million years and they evolved to be different. I've heard of that too. It's possible. I mean, I wouldn't put anything past it. There's way more stuff that's crazy like that. That's true. You know what I mean? I mean, if everyone knew everything that the way reality actually is, they'd freak out. So a lot of things are not the way that you think they are, or way that you're taught to. And it's so that they can have more control over you. I mean, we have governments, right? And so I was saying, I think we were saying this on the Christopher Cordova channel, but when these aliens, when they come to visit us and stuff like that, they're not thinking that we're super high tech, man. They're thinking, look how primitive these poor human beings are, man. They have, first of all, because their technology way surpasses ours, but And just the fact of, stuff like having a government in general, and some people think that it's impossible to have society without some type of government, but it's definitely, even if it is impossible, like right at this point in time, it's definitely not impossible to do. It's just we have to evolve to that still. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure that aliens don't have a government that rules over them. They're probably actually free. So
I think we'd have to start small again. We'd have to go back to like 150 person tribes and then work up from that again. And then maybe I think if we can get everybody on the same page morally and ethically, and just live your life to have goals and dreams, and just don't screw people over. You don't need government then.
Yeah. Oh, it could be that the population got down to, let's say it went down to 500 million or something like that. Something happened catastrophic, and then we could relearn, do it that way. But I think just going on its own naturally, human beings are evolving to be less violent. So we actually are, I've said this before a lot on the DMA channel, but we are literally the least violent today than we've ever been. You're the least likely to be the victim of a violent attack today than any other time in human history since we've been recording it. And there's evidence of that. If you watch a lot of mainstream media, they'll tell you that it's really violent and it's dangerous. But the reason for that is because going back to 50 to 100 people tribes, right? Since 99% of our existence has been in that setting, in tribal times, it's advantageous to focus on the negative, right? Because there could be a lion that comes out and attacks you. People died easily. It's a very dangerous world to live in back then. So we're hardwired to focus on the negative, right? So the mainstream media, they know that, right? And that's why we have violence on movies and video games, and people like that stuff. So we're hardwired to focus on that. It's really just to keep us alive, but it's not really necessary now. But again, since we had this population explosion, in the last few hundred years, we haven't had time to evolve. So I think that, if you just take a look at, 100 years ago, a couple hundred years ago, that's not really that long, and people were hanging people, like they'd have public hangings. All the kids come, be like an event. The kids are out there was watching some guy hang because he did something, right? That's barbaric, man. Like we wouldn't do that now. And there's worse stuff too, stoning. There's all kinds of
slavery. Slavery is barbaric as fuck.
Yeah. And that's not even that long ago, dude. Slavery is not that long ago. So look how much we've evolved to be more peaceful just in that little bit of time. So I think that it's absolutely possible. It's just that they don't want you to know that it's possible, right? So that's the thing. It's why, they say that all the media is controlled. I think is 1 or 6 companies own all the media. So it's kind of like a monopoly. And they have like a script that they all go by and stuff. They're all in cahoots because, I come from a background of like journalists, right? My dad was a photojournalist. He was also a sports anchor. And then my mom also worked with media too. And so that's what they say is, that's one of the things, like the ethic thing that they say, that they will report the news without bias and all that kind of stuff. And we've clearly gone, that's not the way it is anymore. That everyone has an agenda that they're trying to push, you know what I mean? A narrative they want you to believe in. So,
yeah.
But okay, so let's talk about, so is that pretty much the physical part of it that you wanted to get through?
Got 2 more planets or 3 more planets to cover. Oh, yeah. So we made it to Saturn, which is a 29-year cycle. Beyond Saturn, I actually want to cover one more planet, which isn't a planet. It's actually an asteroid. It's called Chiron. Now, Chiron exists between Saturn and Uranus.
Okay.
He's known as the wounded healer. There's a lot of really neat mythology around Chiron, so I suggest looking up Chiron and hearing what more people have to say about him. But he's got a 50-year cycle. So you and I are both coming up on our Chiron returns here as we approach 50.
Yeah, because I remember you telling me about that.
And
so
then,
would you say, just real quick, would you say that after your 50-year Chiron cycle that you start to mature even more?
I think so, even more. Yeah, you've learned how to heal. You've learned how to show other people how they can heal themselves too. Like you've become a teacher. You've really at that point graduated and finally learned, and now you
Okay.
can show other people.
All right.
So after Chiron, you have Uranus. Some people want to pronounce it Uranus. Some people want to say Uranus. You know, when the planet was discovered in 1781, which was just a few years after our Declaration of Independence was signed and our country became the great country that it is in 1776, an astrologer over in England discovered this new planet in 1781, and he wanted to call it Prometheus. But King George did not want to call it Prometheus. He wanted it to be called George. So as a big fuck you to the king, I think that's why it got named Uranus.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Dang.
Yep.
That's
They
crazy.
refused to name it George. Like George was not going to fly.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So Uranus is an 84-year cycle, which is interesting because you and I are at that halfway mark at 42. Yeah. So we're on our Uranus opposition, which is it's revolutionary in its own way. It's got its own challenges, but we don't quite know yet. We have to wait till Uranus enters Gemini, since you and I both have Uranus in Sagittarius. We have to wait till it opposes our natal Uranus in Sagittarius.
When's that? Do you know when that is?
It's this summer, roughly August.
So what's going to happen when that happens?
Well, a Uranus opposition is like the midlife crisis. You know, most people have their midlife crisis around 40. It's because Uranus is opposing Uranus, and there's just a tension there. There's a it's like, okay, this is what my life has been up to this point. Now, what am I going to do now? Am I going to revolutionize it and make some big changes? Am I going to start exercising, eating healthier, sleeping better, stressing less, judging less? You know, I think it's a big time of just a drastic change in the way you live your lifestyle.
Wow, dude, that's crazy that you said that, because I already feel like I'm doing that right now. Maybe I am going through maybe I am going through like a midlife crisis, because I just Minnie, can you guys go play over there, please? Sorry. But yeah, I declared, you know, that I'm going to get as big and strong as my genetics will allow, and I really am going to do that. Taking it seriously. So I do feel almost like literally recently, you know, within the last few months, even, that there's some type of shift happening where I just feel more mature. You know what I mean? Like I'm able to take on problems and conflicts without acting childlike. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's just one thing that I've noticed. So that's crazy that you said that.
Have you noticed your mannerisms even change? Like you just speak and approach people just a little different than you did maybe just a year ago?
Dude, it's like, yeah, like I was telling you, remember, I thought it was my spiritual awakening. Maybe it's partially from this too, but my confidence level is much higher. Just talking to strangers, or, you know, yeah, I feel like I'm very much more, I don't know if assertive is the word, but it's like just confident in general. You know what I mean? The way I speak to other people. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, that could be its own podcast in itself, just talking about a Uranus opposition. And then we have Neptune, which takes 160 year cycle for Neptune.
Okay.
And
160?
160. Yep. Okay. And I believe Neptune was discovered in 1844. So that's funny that was just over 160 years ago.
Yeah.
And then Pluto's a 250 year cycle. So you go back 250 years, we have our nation's birth. So a lot of astrologers will talk about the natal chart for the United States, which you can learn a lot from that, just studying the planetary cycles. This is why getting this foundation of how fast the planets move is very important, so that you can look at something like a natal chart from the United States in 1776, July 4th, and they go with a 3 a.m. chart. Someone says that they were up till 3 a.m. signing the Declaration of Independence, and 3 a.m. is when it went through. I don't know.
Wow, that's crazy, dude. I never even thought about that, like the birth of a country, you know what I mean? And like it'd be interesting to look that up, the natal chart, and kind of see what the energy is going to be for like this country, you know what I mean? See if you can if it matches up from what we know already.
Right. The chart that I've heard, there's a couple of different charts that get used between different astrologers for different reasons, but the one that I've heard them use the most has Sagittarius rising, and that one, I forgot what I was going to say on that, but yeah, it's a Sagittarius rising chart is the one that our nation is known to have.
Okay, so it's and the rising, that's the time.
That's the time,
right?
yeah.
So the time that you said that they were signing everything would be
Mhm.
Sagittarius.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
But that actually doesn't make sense now that I'm thinking about it. If it was 3 a.m, Sagittarius was not rising back in July, so that doesn't track. So maybe I'm wrong there.
Yeah, maybe you're wrong. You're wrong.
I'll admit when I'm wrong. I have no problem admitting it.
That's another thing too that I think, after your 42 years, when it's we're going to, what's the 42 years one again?
It's the Uranus opposition.
Oh, that's the Uranus opposition. Yeah. So the Uranus opposition maybe also helps you with admitting when you're wrong too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a little bit less ego in the way. You know what I mean? And you can be just, I don't know. It's just, you don't, for some reason, like your ego gets in the way and you don't want to admit you're wrong. It's like you're identifying as something that's not really you. But when you don't have that in the way, it's just like a sign of maturity. You know what I mean? But you don't even really feel that bad about it. I mean, you feel bad about the thing that you did, that it was bad or if it was wrong, but it's easier to do for me.
Yeah. It's a lot easier for me to make a mistake and just accept that I was wrong instead of try to fight it and be like, no, there's no way I was wrong.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? One thing you learn too, and everything's life experience, right? You get wiser, but a lot of times if you make a mistake and you do something wrong, if you just own up to it, people will forgive you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And unless it's something crazy bad, but I mean, people will forgive you. But if you try to hold on to the lie, then it makes it worse. You're actually just making it worse than if you just say, yeah, I did this and I shouldn't have. Bam, cool. You know what I mean? I see that in the auditing community a lot. People just like hold on to it, man. It's like, dude, if you would have just said, hey, my bad, I made a mistake right away, it would have been way less.
Right. I see it a lot in the auditing community. I see it a lot with my study of Mormonism and the way that religion operates. Like the elites do not want to admit they're wrong. They cannot say they were ever wrong about anything. And it's like, dude, you guys are wrong about so much. Just everybody knows. Just admit it. Like,
right. Well, if you can't admit that you're wrong, then you can't ever grow. You know what I mean? That's how we learn and get better, is by making mistakes. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I mean, even Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team.
That's funny. That's right. That's right.
And, because it's duality, right? So you can't know what success is without experiencing failure. So
right.
It's kind of the thing that you have to have it,
Right.
And, you should embrace the bad times, because when the bad times are happening, it might be hard to embrace it at the moment because you're going through it and it sucks, but you have to know there's a payoff, right? Because the scales always have to balance. You know what I mean? So if you're really bad right now, scale, know that it's going to balance, and it might get like this, but it has to go like this too to make up for the bad time too. Everything's equally balanced, right? So,
right.
So be grateful for the bad times, because also that means once you go through the bad time, you learned a lesson. And once you learn the lesson, the blessing always comes after the lesson's learned, right? It sucks when you're going through the lesson, right? But that's when the blessing happens. So be grateful for that you got out of it. You know what I mean? And because I've been to points in my life where I was so bad, so down, right? And men do this more, but it was like contemplating suicide and stuff. You know what I mean? I was like, I had some mental health problems when I was younger, and it was a serious deal for me. And then I just thought my life was over. But then, looking back, I'm like, dang, if I would have done that, I would have never experienced all these other things that I experienced. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I'm glad you didn't.
yeah, me too. I think some other people might be too, but um, it's just like I lost my train of thought too, man.
I was just going to also say
Right.
on the same note, I went through a dark night of the soul where I was contemplating suicide for a while. Like if I'm going to face 2 to 10 years in prison for something, which I was at one point, I did not want to go to prison. I was just going to say, fuck it. And I
Yeah.
really had my mind made up that I was not going to waste 2 to 10 years of my life behind bars,
Wow.
which
But then
is kind
you didn't
of
end up
crazy.
having, you know?
That was 15 years ago.
Well, that's the thing about time, right? Is like it seems like such a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
time goes by anyways, no matter what, right? So like when people say, "Oh, you know, I'm too old to go to school now. I'm too old to go to college or whatever," you know, it's like, well, okay, if it takes you 4 years to get your bachelor's degree and it's something that you want to do, but you know, you're already 35, you know, or you're already 40. Well, 5 years is going to go by regardless. You can't stop it. So when
Right.
you're 45, then you could have the bachelor's degree. I mean, you might as well do it. You know what I mean? So, and
Yeah.
it goes
I mean,
opposite too. You know, same thing with bad thing times too. Time has to just go by. So,
and time is not going faster or slower. I mean, it does feel like it, especially in this technological era with so much more information coming at us and so little time to absorb it all on a daily basis. It does feel like we are speeding up, but really it's just our relationship to time. A lot of people don't know how to be present in the moment, and they don't have a good relationship with time. I can wake up and I will tell you what time it is. Like 80 to 90% of the time, I'm within 10 minutes of what time it is when I'm guessing when I wake up. And I think that's a good practice to get into. You should try to guess what time it is when you wake up.
okay. Yeah. All
Or
right. I'm
every
going to
time,
try
every
that.
time before you check the clock, be like, hey, I think right now it's about 9 o'clock. And then, oh, it is. It's about 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, so why don't you tell people a little bit about what being present means to you? Some people that are watching this, they might know, what does he mean by be present?
Right. So for me, being present is something that it didn't take me a long time to grasp. I feel like I caught onto it pretty quick because I saw the practicality and the usefulness of being present versus not being present. Whereas if I'm not being present, I am up in my thoughts, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, or I'm stuck in the past, thinking about something that happened in the past, or I might be sitting at a dinner party just thinking about something else. Oh, that like tonight I went out to dinner, and if I'd been sitting there thinking about this podcast that we were going to be doing tonight, I wouldn't have been present with everybody at the dinner and been able to interact and just hear the conversations. And so yeah.
I mean, that's a thing that people need to do, right? Is enjoy the journey. So like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people get so caught up in the destination
Mm-hmm.
that remember it's going to come eventually anyways, right? So when it gets there, then it's there. And then, but then you're like, oh man, I finally got this thing. But it's like, what do I have to show for it? I was so stressed out about getting to this thing that I kind of didn't enjoy the journey while I was there. You know what I mean? So like a lot of people will say, oh, you know, I'll be happy when, you know what I mean? I'll be happy when I make this amount of money or when I get this promotion or when I get this girlfriend or whatever it may be. And then when you think that, it never comes because being happy isn't a place or a destination you get to. It's within, you know what I mean? So once you're happy in the solitude of being by yourself, now you're on that vibration. Now you can attract the money or the girlfriend or whatever that you're trying to manifest into your life. And
Mm-hmm.
so being present is really important because you have to be able to, again, to enjoy the journey. And the mind, it just kind of wants to take over all the time, right? And so like it just thinks and thinks and thinks because that's what the mind does. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not good or bad, it just is. And the mind is a good thing because you can do lots of stuff with the mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can put a man on the moon, you can do a First Amendment audit, you can edit a video, there's all kinds of stuff you can do with the mind. It's great, but people get too caught up in their mind and they start associating themselves with their thoughts and the thinking and thinking that that's what they are when it's
Mm-hmm.
not. That's not what you are. So being present to me is being who you really are, which is your soul. And what is a soul? A soul is pure consciousness, right? It's singular. So the mind is duality, right? The mind is hot, cold, up, down, left, right. The soul is singular. It just is, right? So like I said, the mind is to understanding as the soul is to knowing, right? So like I said in that last show, I can't remember that philosopher, but he said, I think, therefore I am. No, because he's associating being with thinking, and it's not. It's I am, therefore I am. Because if you say, oh, I think, therefore I am, because I'm capable of thinking, and that means that I'm conscious. But it's not really, because that the thinking is just a tool that you have. It's the pencil. You know what I mean? That's the mind. It's the pencil. But the pencil's not writing the story. There's something else that's in charge of the pencil that's writing the story, right? That's what you are. That's what the soul is. So the soul is the observer of the thought. It's not the actual thought itself. So again, you are starting to realize that you are the observer of your thoughts. You're not the thoughts themselves. And that's what, to me, what being present is. And it's weird because I used to be present when I was a kid. I just did this thing and I didn't know why I did it or anything like that. And I don't know if that has to do with my journey, that I'm supposed to know this type of stuff. But now that I'm starting to understand more about spirituality and, like traditional Zen spirituality and what it is, being present, meditating and stuff, I get it. But when I was a kid, I used to just do this random thing where I'd be like, I'm alive. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to take a moment and just sit here and realize that I'm alive. Like, this is happening. Because I would think in my head, like, I'm living my day. I'm going to school. I got football practice, all this stuff. I'm not actually present, though. I'm not like noticing. That was what it is. You're noticing that you're the noticer of your thoughts. Yeah. Yes. Right. And so I would do that. And now, the one that taught me that was actually Kurt Johnson from New World All-Star. He's got a YouTube channel. And he's the one that taught me that. And I was like, wow, man, I used to do that when I was a kid. That's crazy. So interesting.
So to further answer your question on what it means to be present, I was going to add to it that it means to be at peace with what is. If you can be at peace with what is, then that's one way of being present. And I think Alan Watts also summed it up pretty well when he talked about, like, you hear a song. Is the goal of the song to get to the end? Like, no, that's not the purpose of the song. The purpose is for the song itself. Like, you don't want, like, if the purpose was to get to the end of the song, then the fastest or shortest song would be the best song.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, dude. But like, people get caught up if something bad's happening to them. Hi.
That's Jen.
If something bad is happening to you, a lot of times people, they catastrophize it, right? And I mean, unless you're like sitting there getting tortured or something like that, okay, but something will happen, and they're so caught up in their mind that they're creating their own reality of this is bad, this is bad. And right, again, like attracts like. The universe has no choice to say, okay, your wish is my command. Here's some more evidence to support that. And then it just gets worse and worse, right? Yep. So if you're going through like a terrible time, okay, something really bad happened to you that day, you got fired or your girlfriend cheated on you, whatever it could be. If you can take just a moment just to like go into the present moment right then and say, hey, okay, am I okay though right now? Like right now, is there a lion attacking me? You know what I mean? Or like, is there somebody breaking into my apartment with guns, something like that, right? If the answer is no, like, okay, I'm sitting in my chair, I have, heat, I have, a fridge full of food, like I'm okay right now in the present moment. That like kind of shifts you into this different like vibration, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where you can, like you said, accept what is.
Mm-hmm. And you're actually reminding me of the chakras. And I mean, that's a whole nother episode too. But if your root chakra, if your safety and your security are not met, then you're never going to be able to advance to being creative and explore and be at peace and, everything, enlightenment and all the nirvana, doing all the cool things that you want to do with your life. So you have to make sure that your safety and security are taken care of first before you can do more.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard that before too. And, we are becoming more enlightened because we do have, back in the old times, like I was talking about tribal times, you're on survival mode all the time, You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's like your needs aren't met. Like now, okay, I know that I can eat every day, no matter what, right? I mean, even if you're homeless, you can pretty much, you can have means of getting food that's probably much easier than in tribal times, even, right? So that was one of the main instincts that we have is the two main instincts is survival and replicate, right? But survive includes eating, right? You have to have food. And
Mm-hmm.
so people in tribal times are thinking, oh man, how are we going to eat tonight? Because they probably would go, days without eating sometimes till they get a kill. So when you're constantly in survival mode, it's very hard to be present. So we're
And I
able to.
experienced that a lot when I was homeless living in my car. And it's much more than just surviving by having food to eat or having shelter. It goes further. It can be like getting a shower, getting your teeth brushed, getting a change of clothes. Like these basics are what you need to feel that security.
Right. And you have to have, because if you've been wearing the same pair of drawers, you know what I mean, for 2 weeks straight, bro, it's like you can't really be comfortable. If you can't really be comfortable, then it's hard to be in the present moment, because that might be the time where you sit there and say, okay, be present. Is everything really okay? And you would sit there in your own reality and be like, no, it's not okay. And so, yeah, it can be that way.
You just made me think of something. I almost wonder if that's why when you go to jail, they don't give you a change of clothing. They make you sit in your same dirty, sweaty, stinky clothes every day, the whole time you're in jail.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's kind of gross, but
they
yeah,
that
they don't want you to be present. If you were present, then you would be more powerful.
right. There's all
So,
kinds of psychological tricks they do to you in jail. And I was actually thinking about it because I've always wanted to do jail reform just from
mm-hmm,
being in jail and realizing, that it is inhumane. Absolutely. And some
absolutely.
people say, well, you gotta, it's not supposed to be the Ritz Carlton and blah, blah, blah. You don't commit a crime. Well, yeah, I
I
can
get
understand
that.
that if the majority of people that were in there were actually bad people, but a lot of them
But
shouldn't even be there in the first place, really. And so,
the
like,
public
one thing
school
that,
system is a prison. Like, why can't the prisons be as clean as the public schools at least? Like,
right. Yeah. Like I always say that the jail should get an audit, not like, First Amendment audit, but they should come in and audit them and see the living conditions and how bad it is. When you get to
mm-hmm,
like the general population, it's not as bad because people live there long term. But like when you go into the holding cells, people are in and out of there all day, and like it's just disgusting. No one cares about it, right? It's like when you're at a motel or something or a hotel, like you're not like cleaning up, you know what I'm saying? It's just you leave it for the next person.
yeah,
But
when I went to jail, I had to sweep and mop out myself because it was so fucking disgusting. I couldn't exist in that. There was just
yeah,
I wasn't going to do it.
yep. But that's one thing that I wanted to change on jail reform is the fact that when I was just in there last time at Jefferson County Jail, they give you you have a pair of boxers you're wearing plus one other pair, and then like one other pair of socks and one other pair of change of clothes, right? And that's it. And so a lot of times people wash their own clothes in the shower and stuff. You know what I mean? So they can have cleaner clothes, cleaner drawers. You know what I mean? And when you first get there, you only get the one pair because they only give you a second pair of underwear once you've been there and you do laundry exchange. So if you get there, because I literally got there whatever day it was right when they did laundry exchange. So I wasn't getting it. I had the same underwear for an entire full week. And I wanted to, I want to have, because this is something I want to do with my activism, because, me and Sweet Tea were talking and we're going to be moving it to a different direction. We're still going to do audits and stuff, but there's other stuff that we want to do. And I've always wanted to do this. And auditing was kind of just to get my foot in the door. But I want to have some meetings with public officials and stuff and say, hey, you know what? Whoever is the in charge of the jail and the governor and stuff like that, right? And be like, hey, how often do you change your underwear? Every day?
Every day.
Really? Every day? So if you change your underwear every day, how is it okay? How is it humane for somebody who got locked in a cage, even if you think they committed a crime, but their charge was taking pictures in a lobby, essentially, right? That's what they did. You think that that
Right.
person should be forced to wear the same pair of underwear for 7 days straight? You
Right.
know?
That's so wrong. It's so wrong. It's inhumane for sure. And that's just one aspect.
Right. That's literally one aspect. We go on forever. That'd be another show that we could do for something else, but we're getting a little off track here. So, um, I don't know. Where did you want to, do you want to bring it to another direction?
Yeah, we skipped over two of the slowest cycles, or fastest cycles, I should say. So we started with Mercury, went to Venus, then Mars, but we skipped over the sun and the moon.
Sorry, babe.
And the sun takes, as we all know, 365 days to go all the way through the zodiac. The moon, on the other hand, only takes 28 days to go through the full zodiac. So just keep those cycles in mind when you're looking at an astrology chart or a natal chart or studying the transiting cycles, is knowing how fast these planets are moving through the chart.
Right. So 28 days, that's why they have the 13 months, right? Is that what that comes from? 28 day, 13 day, 28 day, 13, 28 day months.
Yeah. 13 lunar months, basically.
Lunar months, yeah. Okay. So did we cover them all then?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we could always dive into other asteroids and other objects in the sky, but that's obviously more advanced. And
right.
The other thing I wanted to cover on that was there's some other cycles that coincide that a lot of people may not even consider, and we've actually experienced 2 of these in our lifetime alone. So one of them is the Jupiter-Saturn cycle. Now, it takes 20 years for Jupiter to catch back up to Saturn after being conjunct with Saturn. All right, Cat.
Oh, he's frozen. Oh, no, we lost him.
Kick your ass, Cat.
Was that your cat?
Yes.
Because I thought you said you took your cats out of there. Is your cat there?
I did, and somebody opened my door and let him in.
Oh, your girlfriend. Show everyone your cats, because Sweet Tea probably wants to see them. She loves cats.
All right.
Yeah. So, and the other thing too that I've noticed, guys, is a lot of spiritual people like cats. Do you guys notice that? Okay, so
this is Phoebe. This is Phoebe.
Oh, Phoebe.
Yep. Phoebe, you want to say hi?
And she's the girl, right?
She's the girl.
What kind of cat is she?
I don't even know. She's an inbred kitty. She's polydactyl. So she's got little mittens.
Oh, okay. So what is it? What, do you got the boy too or no?
No, he's not in here.
But he looks like his sister though.
Yep.
The same kind of cat. So what is it with cats? I was telling everyone while you were gone. Do you notice that a lot of spiritual people like cats, like they have this connection?
Yeah, I've noticed that actually.
Do you know why?
I think in general, animals, pets are a way of raising your level of consciousness in the home.
Okay. Why? Because they're more conscious?
Yeah, they're more conscious. They're alive. And you bring living things into your home, it's going to increase the level of consciousness. You bring a bunch of dead things into your home, it's going to lower the level of consciousness.
Right. Because like a cat too is always in the present moment, right? Like we're talking about.
Right.
So because
cats are very in tune with their intuition. Like,
yeah.
I've heard stories of people that so their cats would wake them up if they would oversleep and miss their alarm for work. But there was one morning their cat was in there just waking them up like 2 hours before their alarm even went off. And they're like, what is going on? Why is my cat waking me up 2 hours early? And then next thing you know, the cat's running and hiding. And then boom, the apartment starts shaking because of an earthquake.
Dang, that's crazy.
Like they knew an earthquake was about to come and they were doing what they could to warn. And
wow.
So that's kind of a cool story.
5 toes. Does your cat have 5 toes? Is that what the thing is with the paw?
Yep.
Okay. And then she says, and plants too. So do plants help with the consciousness?
I think so.
Because it's a live thing. And plants have consciousness too, right? It's not like they're alive and they're tapped into the same consciousness that we are, right?
Right. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try to bring as much nature into your home as you can.
See, I used to have a plant. Actually, literally, it's funny. We're talking about law of attraction. I was literally just talking to her about this yesterday. Now I'm talking to you. But I had a plant and it was, my mom got me a plant and I had one and it was over there by the window. And I did good, man. I kept it alive and all that. I'd water it. And Loaf, and I got Loaf, you know, he likes to pee on stuff. So I think I had to move it. But then, so I had to always move it back over there though, so they could get some sun. And then one time I decided that I was just going to put it outside. I was like, I'm going to get some real sun. And then like I put it outside and it died. I was only out there for like a day, but like got direct sunlight, and you can't have direct sunlight, I guess. I didn't know that. So,
Yeah, dude, I'm not a green thumb. There's no way I would be able to take care of a plant. I've got a bunch of fake ones in my place.
oh, really?
Sad. I
Oh,
wish
dude.
I had real plants.
Dude, Sweet Tea's like the plant queen, dude. She's got like, I don't know how many plants. She's got a whole entire big ass thing full of plants. I mean, and she's got like the cool ones that's up on the top balcony, and it has like the long ass vines that go all the way down and stuff like that. And they're cool, but like they get, you know, it gets dirty because they get the dead leaves, they fall off, and it's like constant, like, you know, picking up dead leaves and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
you know what I
It's worth
noticed also? Well, it helps you breathe better, it cleans the air, right? Because they bring more oxygen in, right?
Yeah.
Spider plants are really good for that too, I heard.
Yep.
But one thing about cats, you were saying that they're very intuitive animals, right? And it's like they're really good, like judges of character, I guess. They can kind of sense if something's off. I think dogs are the same way, but um, yeah, that was kind of funny that you said that, because I think if cats like a person, I think that's a good indicator. You know what I mean? That they're a good person or not, you know? And so Sweetie has this cat, and his name's Baby, and Baby loves me, right? And so he'll come up. He's one of those cuddly kind of cats, and he likes me to pet him and stuff. But I remember one time I got mad at him because it was my fault. I was extremely high stressed out, and like I stepped on him, like I stepped on his foot or something, and he like freaked out. And then like scared me, and then I got mad because he freaked out, and I was like, "What? Don't walk by me or something," right? But like it was weird because he like went upstairs and hid, and like he could feel it, like he could feel my energy, you know what I mean? And it was kind of, it's like eye opening when that happens. I went up there and like tried to make up with him, you know, and like I hurt his feelings, you know what I mean? I felt bad about it. But yeah, they're super intuitive animals, dude. They're just, you know, a lot of the time you don't really give, not just cats, but dogs, and, you know, any animal. Oh, they're just a dog, just a cat. They're not that smart. And they treat them as though, not maybe they treat them, but they kind of think of them as though like they're not even real, like they're not actually alive or something, you know?
Right.
When they're
Right.
absolutely
Like
alive.
I would put horses up there too, especially. Like horses are probably one of the most sacred creatures on our planet.
You think
With
so?
cows as well too. But,
Yeah, because in India, you know, they worship cows. They think that if you die, that you go, if you did a good job, you'd be a cow. And
right.
I know horses are definitely very intuitive because I grew up riding horses. My grandfather used to take me horseback riding all the time. And I remember we went up into the mountains one time, the Manzano Mountains in New Mexico. It was me, my dad, my uncle, and my grandpa. And it was a nightmare, dude. It started raining and hailing on us. It was just a whole big old mess. And I was a kid. I think I was maybe 10, 8 or 10, somewhere in there. And I was crying. And I remember my dad and my grandpa, and they kept telling me, don't cry, that the horse can sense it. They can sense it and all that kind of stuff. So you got to be careful, you know, because they can really, they're intuitive too, like that.
Right. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to go run and grab my other cat real quick.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we'll check out his other cat too. So he's got 2 cats, but it's like, it's funny because like cat people, I'm not really a cat person. I like cats, but I'm more of a dog person. But anyone that I've known that owns cats has never been like a bad person. You know what I mean? They seem to be good people. Like my friend F in reality loves cats. He's such a nice guy, man. You can just feel he's got good energy. You know what I mean? Sweet Tea, she's got tons of cats. Nick has cats. So just think about anyone that you know that has cats, and like, are they a good person? Are they an evil person? You know what I mean? So, but you know, there's an exception to every rule too, you know. So, you know, I did say that Sweet Tea has cats, and we all know how she is. Just kidding.
Not yet. All right.
Oh, planet that rotates. Okay, so this is the boy. What's his name?
His name's Sasha, which is kind of a girl's name, right?
Yes, but there's a reason for that, right?
Yes. When I was given these cats, I told the person I only wanted female cats. I did not want male cats. I don't want spraying and I was in denial for the longest time. I kind of thought he was a boy, and I'm like, you know what? Those look like balls. I know what balls look like, and that isn't just a puffy pussy. Those are balls. And then, of course, I caught my cats fucking, and I'm like, yeah, that's what it. Fuck. All right, okay.
Yeah, because you can't really tell when they're kittens as much, you know what I mean? Because their balls haven't dropped yet, right? So the little thing could just be the thing that they pee out of. You never know. So
right.
you ended up with a male and a female, and so the whole like spraying thing. Did you get the cat neutered for that?
No, I haven't gotten either one of them taken care of yet, which I need to get that on my to-do list. He does spray every once in a while, but fortunately the smell quickly disappears. It's not like he's competing with other cats for his territory.
Yeah.
So,
because I mean, I have an issue with Loaf peeing on stuff because he's not neutered, and the reason why I leave my animals intact because I don't believe that I own them. I think they own themselves, and so I feel like it's immoral for me to. Now, if you have a bunch of animals, obviously, you know, you might not be able to do that, but luckily I have Sweet Tea and my mom to help me. So when Minnie goes into heat, I can separate them. But I still have to live with, you know, the marking and stuff. And I think it's probably too late now because he's already 5. He's about to be 6. Oh, shoot. Minnie's about to be 4 in a few days. She's a leap year. She's a leap year. So it'll be, cool. She only had 1 birthday. But the cat pee, though, dude, it's like so much stronger than the dog pee, because I remember when I moved into Sweet Tea's house, I had my own office up there, and I was like, oh man, there's this cat pee. I can't get rid of it. The carpet cleaner, I went over it like 1,000 times, dude. It wouldn't come out. And she's like, oh, that's loaf pee. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, I know loaf's pee. This is not loaf pee. And it must have been like, I guess Boomy or other cat, like when he was a kitten before he got neutered. I think that's probably where it came from. But like, I finally figured it out. We had to research it. But if you take like vinegar and baking soda and then you throw it on there, it like neutralizes the odor, and then let it sit for a few minutes, and then, you know, steam clean it out or whatever with your carpet cleaner. And like, it finally came out. But I was like, dang, that is some strong ass shit, man. It's like very like, it's like vinegary smelling. It's like acid kind of smelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't stand cat piss smell. It's funny the way these conversations kind of go one way.
Right. So Sweet Tea said something. She said Earth is the only planet that rotates. Is that true?
No, all the planets rotate.
Okay.
Each one is tilted at a slightly different angle. Like Earth is tilted at a 23-degree angle. Like Uranus is tilted at like 178-degree angle. Like Uranus spins on its side, basically, like it's rolling. But planets like Mercury, it takes Mercury longer for 1 day than a 1 year. I think a day on Mercury is like 200 days or something.
Oh, dang.
Whereas a year is only 88 days. So yeah, you get some weird cycles with the planets when it comes to their revolutionary cycles, their daily cycles versus their yearly.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. It's ammonia smelling. That's what it kind of smells like. Because I was like, man, because I remember she has her cats, all the litter boxes are in the basement. And I remember for a while there, I think it just needed the litter needed to be changed out. She does all that stuff. And I was like, every time I went down there, it was like a torture. I was like, dang, dude, it smells so bad, like ammonia down here. So that I think it was the piss, because it's not there now. So
right.
All right. So what should we talk about? I think we pretty much covered that one. So are we ready to go for the next show into more detailed type of stuff? And we got the basics down.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, unless you wanted to quickly run through the zodiac and the elements and the modalities, that wouldn't take us too long.
Let's do that.
We kind of covered a little bit of this on the last one. We kind of hopped around on it too, but we'll start at the beginning of the zodiac, which is Aries. It's a fire sign. Its modality is cardinal, and its polarity is masculine. And as you go through the zodiac, it alternates masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. it keeps a balance.
Right.
So the next sign is Taurus, which is fixed earth, and it's feminine. And we could dive deeper. I could tell you that Aries is ruled by Mars. I could tell you that Taurus is ruled by Venus. That's kind of important too.
Right. Yeah. We have to go through all that stuff.
And we have Gemini, which is mutable air. It's masculine, and it's ruled by Mercury. Okay. Then we have Cancer, which is cardinal water. Is it feminine? Yeah, Cancer's feminine, and it's ruled by the moon. Then we have Leo, which is fixed fire, and Leo is masculine, and it's ruled by the sun. We have Virgo, which is mutable earth, feminine, and it's also ruled by Mercury. So Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo.
Okay.
After Virgo, we have Libra, which is masculine, cardinal air, and it's ruled by Venus also. So Venus rules Taurus and Libra. After Libra, we have Scorpio, which is fixed water, and Scorpio's feminine, and it's ruled by Scorpio. Kind of has two rulers. So Scorpio was traditionally ruled by Mars, but then when Pluto was discovered, Pluto was given to Scorpio. So Pluto is ruled by Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto.
Okay.
And after Scorpio, we have Sagittarius, which is mutable fire, masculine, and it's ruled by Jupiter. Traditionally, I believe, just Jupiter. And then after Sagittarius, we have Capricorn, which is cardinal earth, feminine, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And after Capricorn, we have Aquarius, which is fixed air. What is air? Air is masculine, and it's ruled by Uranus. Actually, Aquarius was traditionally ruled by Saturn, so Aquarius has two rulers, Saturn and Uranus.
Okay. But you said air is masculine, but you meant to say Aquarius is it masculine, right?
Yeah, Aquarius is masculine. Actually, all air signs are masculine.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're right on either way then. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, air and fire are masculine, and water and earth are feminine.
Got you. That makes sense. Okay.
And then the last sign, Pisces, is mutable water, feminine, and it's traditionally ruled by Jupiter, but it's more modernly ruled by Neptune.
Okay. And what do you mean by ruled by? What does that mean?
So it's kind of like, the way I would describe rulership is, it's hard. Let me give you a good example. So it's like if you went to your friend's house, like you don't live there, you're just a visitor coming over and visiting. So but your friend rules, your friend lives there, your friend owns that house, so they rule it. That's their domain.
Okay.
So it's kind of like your home. So when a planet is going through their sign, they're at home there, they're at peace there.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Right. So like Sagittarius, you said, is ruled by Mars?
Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter.
Okay. But I have my first house in Mars.
Mars is in your first house. Oh, Mars is in Sagittarius. So yeah.
Right. So you would resonate with that particular sign, right? More, I guess. So if you're ruled by Jupiter or whatever, then I guess because that has an impact on the sign itself, right? Like the personality traits and stuff like that. So you could embody that type of energy if you're not ruled by it. So you could still embody it. It's just not going to be as prevalent.
Yeah. And there's some other things that are cool to look at in a natal chart when you get a little more advanced. So you can look at the chart ruler. You can look at the ruler of the nativity. And there's calculations you got to put in to figure out which planet is your chart ruler and such. But with your chart specifically as a Sagittarius rising, we'd say right off the bat, Jupiter is your chart ruler. So whatever sign Jupiter is in, which I believe is Scorpio for you, that is where I forget what that is. I don't want to say too much on it because I'm not totally certain. But
Right.
but
But
it's
I'm
more.
not Sagittarius rising though.
You're
Capricorn.
not. You
Yeah,
are a Capricorn rising. That's right. That's right. You're just a Sag sun.
Yep.
So with Capricorn rising, then it'd be Saturn in your chart. So wherever Saturn is located, which I believe is Libra. I believe you have Saturn in Libra.
Yeah. So you know more about my chart than I do.
Well, your chart's very similar to my chart, at least with the outer planets, because the
Yeah.
outer planets are generational planets because they
Right.
move so slow. And that
You
was
know
something
what?
I didn't quite cover at the beginning too, was the difference between personal planets and generational planets. I mean, your personal planets are the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And then the outer planets are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto.
And so you probably those outer planets have less of an impact, right?
Yeah, they're less, at least personally. Like as a collective whole, those planets will play a bigger part, but personally, they're not going to play as big of a role.
Okay. And you said something about Leo, and I kind of know a little bit about Leo because that's what Sweet Tea is, but she's a double Leo, right? It's she's
Right.
sun and moon. So
That's
you said that Leo, it's masculine sign for one.
mm-hmm.
And then also, and here when I talk about masculine and feminine, guys, I don't mean like, because Sweet Tea can be in masculine energy, but energy is not gender specific, right? So, when I say she's masculine or in her masculine energy, I don't mean that, she's a tomboy and, she's spitting, right? Like she's very feminine, but it's the energy, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you said it's ruled by the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that, but I kind of forgot. That's why the sun card is like the Leo card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in tarot. And she loves the sun. Like it's her favorite thing. Which like I found her old email and I was looking at his old Gmail and like she like super dark, you know what I mean? She looks like Latina or something because she's telling me she used to go, soak in the sun all the time, right? And she doesn't do that as much anymore because it's not good for you. But
Right.
does that have any type of correlation that because it's ruled by the sun, that somebody that is a Leo or has a lot of Leo in their chart would just love the sun?
As somebody who's a Leo rising myself, so my chart is ruled by the sun. I find myself personally drawn to the sun in a lot of ways, like especially sunrises and sunsets.
Mhm.
Like I just get in a trance, like, wow, this is so beautiful.
Okay, that's cool. And another thing that you said too is kind of funny. So Sagittarius, it's run by Jupiter, right?
Yes.
So I literally just, it was funny. I ordered Sweet Tea, this little like nightlight thing, right? It's like this little planet and it lights up and like has like things on the wall that it shows, it reflects, but it's got like all the solar system in there, right? It's like this crystal ball thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I text her, I ordered it for Valentine's Day, but it just came after. And I text her and I said, "Hey, hope you're having a good day, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "I love you. I love you from here to Jupiter," or something like that, right? And like literally right then, the thing arrived and then she sent me a picture of it. "Oh, well, I just got this," right? And so it was funny that happened that way. Like I said, I don't believe in coincidences. That was supposed to do that. I was intuitively guided to just say that, to send that text message, right? And it's funny too because it's Jupiter, right? You said that I'm ruled by Jupiter, and that was the planet that I picked out of all the planets that I could love you more. It was Jupiter, right? Um, and then you said, just going off stuff that I personally can resonate with, but that Taurus is ruled by, what is it ruled by?
Venus.
Venus. And so Venus, like we're talking about, is more of a feminine planet, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Taurus also, it's earth energy, so it's feminine energy. And I am a Taurus moon, which is kind of, it's like you said that, your moon sign is very emotional, right? So
Yeah.
I guess I could kind of see that about myself. Like when it comes to like the 3D and the physical, I'm more in my Sagittarius energy, more masculine. But when it comes to emotions, I am more feminine. You know what I mean? And because of, it's Venus is feminine, and then Taurus energy is also feminine. So it's
And I
interesting.
also imagine that you're more fixed with your emotions. I feel like you're not super fluid with your emotions. They're kind of set. Like you have your emotion and it is what it is, which is very Taurian.
Right. Yeah, it definitely is. Be pretty kind of stubborn about that. So
Yeah, that's stability. That's a good quality.
right. I mean, it's good and it's bad. You know what I mean? So it's got the duality to it too. So everything in moderation, right? So like if you eat broccoli, broccoli's healthy, dude. It's good. It's like a superfood. But if you eat
Mhm.
broccoli every single day, it give you problems, man. Like you can't do that.
Right.
You have to switch it up, right? So everything in moderation, even the stuff that's good, got to have it in moderation because there's a duality with it. So, okay. So anything else that you wanted to touch base with on this one?
One last quick one. We quickly covered over the Jupiter Saturn cycle, which takes 20 years. There's also another. I mean, you could cover all the planets. Like each one of them has a relationship with the other planets, and there's a certain time period that it takes for their cycles. But we don't need to dive into those. But I just want everyone to kind of be aware that they exist, and there is a timing. The universe has a timing, and things play out at the right time in the right moment. You can't change it. It's playing out, and you can go with the flow or you can fight it. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of your options.
Yeah. That's one of the easiest things. One of the things that I've learned too is going with the flow, and I'm getting better at it. But when you try to fight something and control it too much, then you start losing more control over it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to be more fluid. And because you can't really change things. And I'm actually getting better at like accepting things. You know what I mean? That before might have been like traumatizing, or I'd obsess over it. Like, oh, I can't believe this happened. You know what I mean? But I'm really able to just kind of accept things more now because I can't change it. You know what I mean? So, when you get angry or you start obsessing and, go into panic mode, then you're just doing that to yourself, right? You're torturing yourself. It's like a punishment that you give yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't always choose your circumstances, but you can choose how you respond to them. Right.
Exactly.
Some like, I don't know if I said this before in this channel or not, but if somebody says, oh, somebody puts a gun to your head and they're going to blow your head off, you don't have a choice. Well, again, you don't have control over your circumstances, but you have a choice, right? How you respond. You could close your eyes, or you could scream, like you could do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything else then? Because I want to get the basics out, because next show we're going to jump into some more deep dive in type stuff.
As far as basics, I would say if you want to start studying astrology, you got to start with the basics. You got to first of all know your birth time. If you don't know your own birth time, you can't pull up your natal chart. Yeah, you could pull up a chart that shows some of the placements, but you're not going to get an accurate rising sign without an exact birth time. And I think once you know your own, then you can move on to other people that you know and look at their charts, and it'll really help you to understand, like, okay, my girlfriend has moon in whatever sign. I can't even think what sign her moon is in right now. Sagittarius. And so, I also will know that, okay, Sagittarius is my fifth house in my chart. And I know that the fifth house is the house of creativity and children. And so I know that her moon is going to be very playful in my chart. So that's one of the ways in which she and our synergy is going to interact in that way.
Yeah. And it's fascinating, dude, when you start figuring out, okay, now I realize how this goes, and you start looking up your own stuff, like you said last show, and it's like, oh wow, this really resonates. This is cool. And then you can start doing it with your girlfriend and your dad and all kinds of stuff, and it gets interesting. So thanks for giving us this foundation here on this part. And then I'm just gonna answer a couple questions in here. Sweetie says, how come all the pics are of the same side? Same with the moon, it doesn't rotate.
Is she referring to the Pluto pics?
I'm sorry, what?
Is she referring to the pictures of Pluto that you were looking up?
Yeah, I think she's talking about, because she said that Earth is the only planet that rotates, and that's why she's saying any picture of, I think, any planet. Like you always, because you always see the same side of the moon, right? Like they say, the dark side of the moon. We never see that.
Well, from our perspective on Earth, yeah, the moon rotates, but it's rotating with the Earth in such a way that we only see that same side.
Okay,
If that makes sense.
Is that kind of how it is for all the planets then?
I'm not sure if I think each planet has its own moons that kind of do their own thing.
Okay.
But yeah, every planet rotates to a degree.
Okay. So yeah, I think anything else? Any last minute advice?
Last minute, you know, the best advice I can give to anyone that wants to learn more about astrology on the basics, go to the Moon Matters podcast. Moon Matters is one of the best podcasts I found where she covers the basics, and really it finally made sense. Like it finally clicked what the basics were when I listened to that podcast. I went back and listened to it twice just because every episode, which probably took me like a solid 40 hours probably to cover it all, but
right,
it's worth it.
Cool. Thanks for that plug. And then I think we're going to start getting into some more crazy stuff. Like I know we wanted to talk about like paranormal stuff last time. I can't remember. We had the list. I don't have to go back and watch the show again, but we're talking about ghosts or something.
Mm-hmm.
But this one here, parallel universes, I think that would be a good one, man. Talking about that kind of stuff, parallel universes, like the Mandela effect type stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, right. That'd be fun.
So I think that's it then. So I think we're going to go ahead and end it for now. And then you want to shoot for Tuesday so we can give them a heads up? Is that our day still, or we want to switch the day?
Yeah, we can shoot for Tuesday. Do we still want to shoot for 5 days from now, or?
Yeah. I mean, unless you can't do it.
I should be able to. If I can't, I'll definitely let you know and we can reschedule.
Okay. So we're going to try for Tuesday, guys, at 8 our time. So it'd be like 10 Eastern. But just in case something happens and we can't do it on Tuesday, then all you got to do is just hit subscribe and then click the notifications bell on always, and you'll be notified. So that's it, guys. We're gonna get out of here. Thanks to everyone who stopped in. Let's give a quick shout out. We got Sweet Tea in the house. We got Wicked Wembley is in here, and I can't go up anymore in my comments, but there's a few other people in here. So appreciate you guys. Everyone have a great rest of your night, and love and light. Check this out. Hey man, how's it going?
Do better.